So, okay, as I mentioned, sorry, at the beginning, this is an introductory chapter. If we approach into the problem of this course, interaction between physical environment and society, the first step necessary to survey which research results produced the antecedents of this discipline. The former scholar, the former representative of environmental sciences. The second one, very important to define the basic concept, because there are important and crucial peculiarity of rational scientific cognition. The first step, necessary to define everything. What mean, for example, ecosystem, what mean how function the system of Earth, atmospherical, tectonical, geological, and so on and so on. This is the first step. The second one, very important, standardize the methodology. This is the strength of disciplinary cognition. But there are, very important to call your attention, the weakness of scientific cognition. No final cognition. No final cognition. For example, I live together in the student hostel with one biologist. And he told to me that it's a front research. In the biological research, no use older article than 5 years. Because the relevance expired. No final cognition. It's moving. For example, in the theological cognition, it's possible a final cognition if somebody meet personally with the God experience. It's final cognition. But in the final cognition of theological cognition, we are not able to pass because it's personal. But it's not no license for theological cognition, only scientific cognition. But very important to know, a scientific cognition opens only one door to the world, but there are other doors. But it's other topic, other subject. I will speak only about the scientific cognition. Something about my story. I studied history and geography, as I mentioned in the introduction. I lived in the student hostel. Somebody know this building? Herman Otto student hostel in other side of the Tisza River. I lived in the 506 room, and I remember exactly when I decided I will specialize in environmental history. It happened 27 March 1985, late afternoon. I lie in the bed and thought about which is the good topic to me. And I decided I specialized to a boundary research field between history and geography, and I decided I will analyze my home county, county in eastern part of Hungary. It's named Bihar. Half of country connected after the First World War to Romania, and the one-third, two-thirds to Romania, one to Hungary. It was quite a critical period because was a period of ruling years of very cruel dictator named Nicolae Ceausescu in Romania, quite dangerous. I traveled to mountain area alone. It was very interesting when I reconstructed my experiences and my field trip. I traveled every time alone. I don't know why. Alone. It's very difficult and quite dangerous, because during the sleeping time, for example, alone in a field or in the forest, it's a very fragile situation. Not interesting though. I traveled. My mother tried to pushing me that no good option. But I was 20 years old in this period, very difficult to arguing against the personal motivation. Anyway, I traveled to Romania, and I wondering 10 days in the mountain area. I suggest to you travel. Traveling, gathering information about the physical environment, about the people living in landscape, about me, because the people able realize the personal boundary and personal skills, which not possible to realize in any other situation. Traveling for self-cognition, important source of self-cognition. I came back with success from the field trip and realized 3 crucial cognition which were determine my life. It's very important. The first one, if we are looking interaction between physical environment and society, the most important from the side of physical environment, because generally we interested for the interaction focused to human activity. For example, pollution, for example, agrarian activity. But I changed the point of view and I focused how influence the physical environment the function of society. Therefore, from the side of physical environment, the most important guiding force, you know which is the guiding force, who able to move, able to push the physical and chemical and the general ecological processes is a climate. Why? Because the climate change the vegetation, change, for example, the chemical process of soil, change the water level, underground and upper ground water level. If possible, you know, a forest able to wandering. How? How able wandering a forest? But because there is a deep roots. There is a solution of that. Look at, for example, this is a, for example, old forest starts a climate change, for example, warming, which is the good reaction of the forest for the warming. Escape northward. Escape northward. How able to escape northward? Because the roots is connected to stable location. The new growing, it's grow on the northern boundary. And the southern boundary is drying up. Drying up. And there is a speed of moving of forest 1 kilometer for 40 years. This is the speed of moving of forest. If the climate change is weaker, it's faster, whole of the forest will dry up. It's slower, able to escape. Able to escape. Not only the human, not only fauna, not only the insects or animals able to escape, but even the vegetation. Okay, climate. Climate is a guiding force. The second one, a county, a political unit, not adequate physical unit for ecological analysis. Why? Because the political boundary made by human. Look at, for example, Africa. Look at the boundary of African country. It's a line. It's only one line made by arithmetical devices. Look at, for example, Near East. It's not a natural boundaries, it's artificial boundaries. Therefore, if we try to analyze and understand the ecological change, ecological units, ecological processes necessary to use natural regions, regional analysis. And finally, my topic, because for a long time I imagine my topic is historical geography. But my topic, not a historical geography, but environmental history. Okay. Basically, the most important peculiarity of environmental history, look the interaction between physical environment and society as interaction. Society, obviously, able to change the physical environment. As I mentioned, we are living artificial environment. It's not a natural environment. And my life and our life based on 2 pillars in the modern time. cheap energy and cheap water. We are using the toilet, drinking water, and we are cleaning the cars with the drinking water, cheap water. I remember during my childhood, no water service in the family. Only 4 wells, no more. Therefore, if necessary, drinking water with the bike, with the container, we walk to the wells and take drinking water, brought at home. And if expired, repeat time by time. Recently, it's only opened the tap and flowing the water, drinking water. Recently, we are living a cheap water. And the second one, a cheap energy, which is the most important, most popular reaction for the global warming, making air conditioner, which based the cheap energy, and making a micro space, for example, a shopping center and the flats, change the local climate. It's not a real reaction. It's based, if cheap water and cheap energy won't function, our civilization became very, very fragile. Look at, for example, in Central Europe, this summer was very, very hot. And the electrical network, a lot of region, for example, Balkanic Peninsula and some part of Hungary, wasn't able to survive. For example, my wife told to me, queuing on the Spar shopping center, and the electrical service expired. Everybody left the basket inside of the shop, and the clients had to go out because no electrical service, no chance for paying, because majority of people use the credit card. Without electrical service, nothing able to function. Therefore, our civilization is very fragile. Interaction between physical environment and society. Okay. Environmental history, American branch of historical research, formed by American. It's mean United States. Godfather of environmental history, Roderick Nash. He was the first who used a term of environmental history in a university course in 1970. Very interesting, because each of great research field and research direction of history made in Europe. For example, economic history founded in Germany, social history founded in France and England, and quantitative research founded in France. Majority of historical research field and research direction founded in Europe. Exceptionally, environmental history founded in United States. There is some idea, somebody, why? Exceptionally, only one historical research field which founded in United States. Which is the advantage of American history? Cheers. If somebody would like to eat and drink, it's possible, because it's a great disadvantage of modernization. It's separated intellectual and somatical joy. It's not a good option. If somebody would like to drink and eat and sleeping, lying, it's free. Okay, but the original question was, which is the reason? Not so easy, not so easy. I taught not only the Szeged University, but a lot of other universities. For example, a Central European University, which is a quasi-American university. And half of students came from United States. You learn together with American student, not? Because the motivation is, and the behavior basically different. Because probably the Indian and Iranian student came from the German-like, over-disciplined educational system, the most important reaction, survive. The place of school, not the place of joy, necessary to survive. Elementary school and secondary school under pressure of parents and the teacher, under pressure. And for example, the body language of student, it's demonstrate well, which is the German-like student, German school-like student. I'm walking in the lecture room and avoid eye contact and saving the lethal organs. Would like to survive. And very interesting, which is the peculiarity of German style school. It's very high pressure, learning a lot of elementary information. Learning, testing, learning. Therefore, the mid-level of knowledge is quite high. Oppositely, American style school, it's much more focused, not the knowledges, much more construction of the character. There is a rhetorical courses, arguing beside one opinion or other one. Therefore, if we are, probably you know the American teenager movies. It's basically not focused to the learning, much more to the free time and entertainment. It's not so far from the reality, but very important skills develop in the American student. American student is very open and would like to arguing beside his or her opinion. Therefore, in, for example, Central European University, 1/3 of students came from United States, and for example, I take one question, a guess, American student raised their hand. He or she didn't know the answer, but would like to discuss. And it started the discussion because the Mongolian and Chinese and Serbian and Hungarian students, but it's activated. Okay, basically you behave like a German-like student would like to survive only without conflict and would like to avoid any chance of making mistake and so. Okay, but the question, somebody remember? Why United States became a source and a candle of environmental history? I know the answer. We are not in danger.
Maybe because some kind of political issues, there was agreements of the environment.
No political reason. I would like to avoid any political reason. Very far. Somebody visited in the United States? Okay. Which part of United States?
Me? The northern.
Northern part.
Yeah. In Idaho.
Yeah. How long?
Almost 2 weeks.
2 weeks. That's quite enough, the first impression. You visited? No. Okay. Very important that when the first conquistador arrived to northern part of America, it's simplification, of course. Simplification. But majority of northern part of America, a huge forest from the Appalachian Mountain to the Rocky Mountain. And a transformation of landscape performed mainly in the 19th century. Therefore, the generation's memory remember the status, the conditions before the civilization. Not by chance, for example, you know the movie, the Western movies, the people alone. This is the very great prestige of wearing of arms because the people are alone and turn around a wide environment. And the American people necessary to save him or herself or his or her family. Therefore, in the American history, deeply saved a memory of transformation of natural environment. But in Europe, for example, this is the same situation in India and Iran. Transformation of physical environment started 6,000 years ago. 6,000 years ago. Therefore, generation by generation by generation, lived transformed physical environment. Therefore, for deep civilization, the memories of natural environment so far that no reality for the recent generation. But in Americas, it was a closed memory. Not by chance, the American scholar turned toward the problem, we are a double nature. Double nature. What means the double nature? Double nature means that we are a bearer of culture, we are a civilized man. I not want prejudice in your case, but in my case, I am sure I am an animal, a real animal. For example, a physical needs. I am hungry. It's time by time increased. I'm more and more hungry. I became more and more aggressive. Look at, for example, I lived in, you remember the picture, in the student hostel. In the student hostel, the private property is quite fluid categories. Not by chance, in the refrigerator, the frigo, there is two types of the frigo. It's possible to close or not. It's not able to close. It's if somebody take into the frigo something, not sure that survived the first night. And I remember one night I woke up in my bed in the student hostel. I was hungry and walked out to the kitchen, opened the door of the frigo. Inside of the frigo had a lamp or a very small piece of butter. After a short hesitation, I ate the butter. It wasn't a good decision because almost I vomited. It was very, very bad, but I behaved like an omnivore, you know, like a pig, for example. Therefore, very important to realize that we have an animal part with physical needs, with psychological motivation. We are an animal. It's a psychology named anima or animus. This is the first one. And the second one, a physical environment, as I mentioned, able to influence a historical processes. I tell one example from the Hungarian history. In the middle of 13th century, a Mongolian empire, which occupied and made the largest empire whole of the human history. It's a larger than British Empire. Occupied a Hungarian kingdom. Occupied the eastern part of Hungarian kingdom. A Hungarian king lost the battle against the Mongolian army and escaped to Adriatic Sea. And a Mongolian army during the winter time wasn't able to cross on the Danube River and applied a stratagem. You know which is the stratagem? Stratagem. Everybody know? It's a military trick we can describe. On the left side of Danube, a huge herd of cattle alive. And the Hungarian soldier look at and walk around the ice cover of Danube and draw to his side the cattle. And the sentinels of Mongolian army realized which is the reliable path on the ice cover, and followed, and destroyed the Transdanubian area. Why interesting story for us? Because the following spring, all of the Mongolian Empire rolled back to Central Asia. If the Danube River didn't cross over, the Transdanubian area had a chance for survive the invasion. Therefore, interaction, Mongolian army and harsh temperature and money interact. Therefore, not only the human decision influence direction and the event of human history, but physical environment, not only the background of history, but actor able to form, not consciously, but able to form the history. Okay, Roderick Nash used the first environmental history, but it's very funny boy, and for example, his legendary mention that American civilization made only 3 things to the global civilization: Coke, basketball, and national parks. No more. It's possible. It's true. How we can define? How we can define a category of environmental history? The first Australian historical geographer tried to define which is the environmental history. According to definition of Joseph Michael Power, environmental history like Belgium. Somebody visited in Belgium? No? Belgium is a very interesting country because recently we are living in national countries. For example, mainly Hungary living Hungarian, mainly Germany living Germans, so and so and so. But some country founded before the formation of national state. For example, Switzerland. I worked quite a long time in Switzerland, which is the language of Switzerland.
German.
Partly. Italian?
French.
And French. And Greco-Roman, it's a quite special new Latin dialect. Founded before the national states. 4 nations living inside of, and very different identity. And a little bit same situation in the case of Belgium. Which is the Belgian? Which are the Belgians? A little bit German-like, it's named a Flemish, much closer to the Dutch language. It's a Flemish, it's a German dialect. Flemish and Wallonians, French. Therefore, Belgium founded before the national state. Therefore, to be a Belgian, it's a free decision. Because in the national level might be, or maybe Wallonian, French Wallonian, or Flemish other side. Therefore, it's a joke, for example. It's a joke in the European joke history. We are Belgians. It's mean a free decision, free option. Moreover, if we are looking at the identity, the majority of people know simple identity. There is an identity rank list. For example, recently I am a lecturer. This is the priority of my identity. But for example, tomorrow I am a player of a football team. When we start in the city championship tomorrow evening, of course, the priority of me is I am a football player. Therefore, the priority position of the rank list of identity may change according to situation. Okay, turn back. Environment, resident of collective imagination, a good deal of intellectual uncertainty, diversity, and even incoherence. Environmental history visibly imperfectly delineated, highly permeable, migratory era. Okay, what mean? The first generation of environmental history who interacted between environment, according to first identity, came from physicist, mathematician, geographer, historian, sociologist. Therefore, environmental historian was the second, third, and fourth position, or more different position in the identity structure. But when analyzed interaction, it became to the first position. Therefore, it's a quite a complicated. I will return later to the disciplinary problem. Anyway, definition of Joseph Michael Prover is a free decision, like to be a Belgian. Okay, look at the second one. Paul Sears, American ecologist, described environmental history as subversive discipline. Subverted the accepted view of world history. The older history made a little contact with the nature, was concerned mainly with the political activity of human. Environmental history recognized a biological fact, as I mentioned, we have animus, or anima, are depend on the natural factor, subject to ecological principle. Growth is limited, no resource is infinite, and value of biological diversity. How we can translate to the historical terms? If we are looking at history, history is very important. Not because I'm specialized to the history and very close to my heart, but the history, it's a memory. It's a memory. You can judge importance of the memory, looking, for example, if somebody lose the memory. There is a sickness, how the name, Alzheimer, I remember. If somebody lost the memories, totally disoriented in the world, lost the connection, the social connection, each connection to the world, might happen even a community, even a nation, even a civilization became a blind herd, If somebody lost the memory, therefore very important the responsibility of the historian. If somebody able to make a false memories about the past, able to destroy the future. Therefore, very important saving good condition of memories and construct a very deep and very good constructed structure of memories. Why is so important? Because if somebody, some person or community, there is the memory is well conditioned, able to use solving the problems. Because not only our generation living in critical period. Look at, for example, 500 years ago in the Hungarian history, this was half of the country occupied by Ottoman Empire. It was a critical situation. The contemporaries somehow tried to solve the critical situation. And we can learn the experiences of them. Therefore, the history is very important. Okay, first. Second. The second one, if we are looking at the history, the orientation of history, the history as discipline founded in the 19th century, as any other discipline. Mathematics, physics, as everything. Geography. Very important peculiarity of the disciplines that each generation had a great question. A lot of small and middle questions, but one great question. In the 19th century, the great question of history was how unfolded a nation. And describe a history of Hungarian, Romanian, German, French, with a lot of volumes. And the most important direction of the historical thinking was a political history, military history, and the legal history. This is the first trait of history. But at the beginning of 20th century, formed a globalized economy and appeared economic history. In the 30s, in the 20th century, it's appeared the mass society and appeared beside even a social history. After the Second World War, it was a great shock of contemporaries, turned out from the narratives, description of the history, declaration of politician, and turn toward the quantitative history. A great database, for example, production, salaries, social information, for example, living standards, and so on. So turn toward the great database analysis. And in the 16th century, turn toward the thinking of humans. It's a psychological history. And the last great question of the historical research are ecological history. How able physical environment influence the history, and how function in the historical past and recently animal nature of human, our behavior. Look at, for example, the panic situation. We are behaved like animals. Would like to escape. No thinking. No thinking. Okay, therefore, subversive, according to Sears. Because according to traditional historian, we can disturb the history after the decision of General Napoleon or General Stalin. It's not true. It's not true. The life is more complicated. Necessarily take into consideration not only the politician's decision, but even the physical environment too. Okay. Evolution of environmental history follow the same recipes like any other discipline. The first intellectual project, Roderick Nash, declared environmental history appeared. The second one, institutionalized department, foundation of journals, foundation of institute, and the last one, graduate student appeared on the labor market. In the United States, 10% of historians even now environmental historian, and there is a whole of the university education. It's a BA, MA, and doctoral level, even in environmental history. In Europe, a little bit delayed. In Europe, we are in the BA level, in the universities of Scandinavian universities, in Scottish universities, and Swiss and Austrian universities. Very interesting. If we are try to geographical sense locate these environmental history and basis in Europe, it's a peripheral area. Scandinavia, peripheral area. Scotland, peripheral area. Alpine country, peripheral area. Why? Because the people who lived in peripheral agrarian area more sensible for the environmental question. The memories of subsistence crisis saved local historical memories. Okay, good. If we are looking at environmental history and environmental thinking, unfortunately, my information about the Indian philosophical background a little bit moderate, same situation in Iranian. Unfortunately, I am focused to the European approach for that, and if try to find the roots of environmental thinking in Euro-centralized approach, there are two trajectories. The first one, a Judeo-Christian heritage and a Greek heritage. Very important to define, there are and there were a lot of conflict between Judeo-Christian heritage and Greek heritage. It's not harmonized interaction. Look at, for example, one example of the conflict. In the Judeo-Christian heritage, homosexual practice, it's a legal sin. Legal sin. In the Greek heritage, as usual. As usual. And very interesting, which heritage is stronger, we can judge how organized a pride. You know which is the pride. Everybody knows which is the pride. Everybody, pride. Okay. And in Belgrade, in Serbia, or Moscow, or, for example, Paris. Which is closer, a Judeo-Christian heritage or Greek heritage? Okay, but we are approached from the point of view of environmental history. If open the Bible, Old Testament, The first environmental sense liberal story, expulsion from the Garden Eden. The story is very interesting. You know the story? It's very interesting because the Indian heritage is basically different about the formation of the world, but the Judeo-Christian heritage, the God formed whole of the universe, and the first couple take into the Garden Eden. Garden Eden. Hungarian student, I suppose, know the story more or less. And there are two forbidden trees inside of the. It's a central part of the Garden Eden. But my first question, no, second question today, because the first was the American school socialization. Why garden? Why not a cave? Why not a beach? Why not a forest? Why garden?
Because the gardens symbolize the life.
Symbolize the life. A garden, it's a somehow we can describe it like a universe, because a lot of different form of vegetation, partly. Why other?
Because it's a closed environment.
Closed environment. It's a safe and closed environment. Safe because there is a fence around the Garden Eden, and there is how the name is, angels who are saving Garden Eden. Somebody know which kind? Because angels, there are a lot of different angels in the Christian heritage. Which you know the movie series of Game of Thrones? Everybody? Game of Thrones. There is a special guard with sword who flaming. This angel using a sword of flaming swords. Who are saving the Garden Eden? Okay, a safe place, which a lot of different parts of vegetation contain. Which other reason? Because a Jewish author wrote down the story, and everybody using a vocabulary of experiences. Look at, for example, the story that when translated Eskimos, Inuit language, the Bible. And Inuit language, no word for the tree. Not so easy to translate. Because in the Bible, lot of story about the trees. Therefore, and another one, no word for the sheep. And therefore necessary to use other animals. Okay, but why garden? Turn back to the original story. Which is the landscape? Which is the climate in the Near East? Desert and semi-desert. Therefore, the people who are living in the desert area, the best one, a garden, an oasis. Not by chance. Recently, the very rich Emirates constructing artificial gardens. Therefore, the people who are living in the Near East, the desert area, the best one, the garden. Be able to imagine. Okay, the two trees prohibited for them are tree of knowledge and tree of immortality. But you know the story. Ate from one tree. Which fruit? Apple, of course. Not by chance. One of the most successful international enterprises used the apple. Okay, and probably there is some connection to that. Okay, apple. Which apple? Immortality or knowledge? Knowledge, of course. Which is the punishment, original punishment, which promised by the God. If you will eat from the fruit of the tree, you will die. You will die. Therefore, the rank of punishment decreased by God. Only the punishment was expulsion from the from the Garden Eden. Look at the sentence of the punishment. Because you have listened to the voice of your wife and have eaten on the tree about which commanded you, you shall eat. Cursed. Very important, a crucial element. Cursed. We are living a cursed world. A cursed world. Not by chance, if we are looking at mentality of traditional people, because we are living a cursed world, which is the most important ambition of us, which is the focus of the life after the death. We are living in the cursed world, necessary only survived somehow, because we will rebirth in the eternity. After the death, we are not able to understand the mentality of the traditional people, the focus of life under the death, which is the focus of recent life. The focus of recent life of the most important age term of consummation, from 20 years to 48. This is the focus of the life. Everybody would like to young forever. But the traditional time, the life only a field of survival. No more, no more. And the focus of the life after the death. Okay, we are living in the curse. And why so important? Because a traditional people socialized according to Bible. Like, for example, writing a program to the computer. The first line is we are living in the cursed world. A cursed world. Not easy to overwriting this program. We are living a cursed world, drowned because of you. The thorns and the thistle said, you shall eat of the plants of the field by sweat of your faith. Necessary to work. Necessary to work. And the work is a punishment. This is the second line of the program. The work is punishment. If we are, for example, looking the people, is believer or not, function according to original Christian programming, Judeo-Christian programming. We are looking in the traditional time, obviously it's a cursed work, and the work is a punishment. No, I didn't listen about the demonstration for more work time. Everybody would like to decrease the proportion of the work. It's not the same whole of the generation, whole of the work. Look at, for example, a Japanese society. In the Japanese society, very high the moral position of the work. In the Taoism and in the Shintoism, which is a very interesting shamanistic religious system of Japan. In the Shintoism, there is a basically different concept about the work. A work, a way of self-perfection. If somebody working very hard, able to improve the mental and physical condition. And probably you know a lot of crucial stories about how harshly working the Japanese people and not going home after the working time, but going to the pub and speaking about the problem of the it's very different. In the Christian, I don't know which is the approach to the work in the Indian society. Is punishment or not? My question was, because in the Judeo-Christian heritage, a work is a punishment, according to Bible. Yeah. When, after the expulsion from the Garden Eden, the God told to the first couple, you have to work. A work is a punishment. Because in the Garden Eden, only pick fruits and walking and enjoy the life, but out of the fence of Garden Eden is a punishment. My question was, in the Indian heritage, Indian philosophical or religious heritage, Work it's a way of self-perfection, like a Shintoism in Japan, or it's a punishment. Not punishment.
We work is like a worship, because if you don't do work, you can't survive.
Okay, Iran?
I'm not
It's a good option because we can realize the word history in a small seminar room.
I'm not sure about that, but I'm sure that we don't consider it a punishment.
Personally, is a work a punishment or no? In my case, it's I'm a little bit far from the Christian heritage because I am a workalism. You know which is the word workalism? Yeah, but first of my boss in my first academic institute told to me for motivation, not the cleverest people will be the best researcher. It's true. It's true. And the necessary, a bad character for the research work, for example, selfishness. Selfishness. It's a very bad character, very bad nature. But the selfishness, if we are looking the other side, it's a concentration. Without selfishness, no concentration. And stubbornness, if somebody only focuses to one topic. Okay, but generally, it's a work, it's a punishment. You return to ground, it's death. How do the dust? Okay, good. But if we are looking not only the Old Testament but the New Testament, there is another important nature, environmental concept of Christian heritage, Judeo-Christian heritage, that looking the human as a steward of the created world. In the book of Genesis, Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden, dressed into the keep, served garden which have been praised. Or Paul in the letter for Corinthians, for we are God's fellow workers. We are working together with the God.
sorry, the stewardship is kind of like similar, like slave.
Not slave. No. Fellow worker.
Oh.
Fellow worker, much more. Because the God only ordered the human. Somehow it's controlling and forming and saving good condition of the created work. It's a mean a fellow worker. It's a mean a stewardship. Somehow a steward. The human became a steward. I hope you remember it's a cursed word. Work is punishment, and the human is a steward. It's a steward of the created world. Okay. The next important milestone of the environmental concept of the Bible, that's a great disaster. The first great disaster, it's an expulsion from the Garden, that's a small disaster. The first great disaster was a flood of Noah. It's a great flood. It's very interesting. A lot of story, there is a flood. For example, Gilgamesh story in Sumerian civilization, and in Egypt there are a flood story. And why decided the God destroy whole of created world? Why?
I was thinking about the tower when he mixed the languages. I think it's kind of like similar.
It's a story of Tower of Babylon.
Yes,
But the Noah.
he wanted us to punish for
Punish for what?
for the human didn't do what
Evilness. Evilness of human. It's an evil behavior of human. It's a return time by time, evil behavior. But which other? Which other? Very interesting, the story. You can check. You will go at home after this seminar. On the time wrote a book of creation. The Son of God arrived to the earth, and they made children with the daughters and the wives of human. Unbelievable story. Son of God. Who are the Son of God? Because Jesus named himself Son of God. Son of God. Other sentence from the same story. On the time, giants lived on the earth. My impression about the book of creation, like for example, there is a great lamp. It's a lighting on the landscape. Look at one giant. Other God of song. Who are? Who are? We are not information about it. A science fiction author using this story that who are the Son of God who made children with the daughters and wife of humans. We don't know. Anyway, alienness or some genetical experiment, we are not real. Because this is the basic problem, that we are using a rational scientific vocabulary and using a theological vocabulary. Look at, for example, Life of Sense of Roman Catholic Church. If we are looking at the psychological, for example, vocabulary, there is for example, hallucination. There is a mental sickness because no compatible. The transcendental religious vocabulary and the rational vocabulary. Okay, turn back to the story. Finally, the God destroyed whole of the created world, except Noah and his family. Noah and his family. His three sons, Shem, Ham, Japheth, and the large family of Old Testament. Destroyed whole of the world, but Noah received information and made an ark, a great ship. And according to Bible, after the closing of flood, it's 40 days long great flood, destroyed everything and everybody. A floating ship, it's arrived on the mountain area. Which mountain? Which mountain? Caucasus? Ararat. Armenian. This is the highest peak of Armenia. Why interesting? You know something about the story of formation of Black Sea? Somebody know? Okay. Probably you know that on the time of last ice age, Pleistocene ice age, the water level of global ocean, because formed a huge ice cover on the two poles of Earth, water level of global ocean decreased 100 meters. Mediterranean Sea dried up. Black Sea didn't exist. When closed ice age and melted step by step ice mass, ice cover, rose a water level, filled into the Mediterranean Sea, up. Somebody visited in Istanbul, yeah? There is a Bosphorus, and as rose straight Bosphorus between the Europe, Balkanic Peninsula and Anatolia, rose, and huge quantity of water is fall down to the basin of Black Sea. And according to geographical reconstruction, majority of Black Sea created 2 days, 48 hours. Probably a lot of people living in the fertile area of basin of Black Sea, which killed. Therefore, beside the Noah, our story, there is a real geographical experience. Destroyed. But very interesting, the personal, psychological nature of Noah. Somebody know which was the most important mental weakness of Noah? He was the best man of his generation, but had a mental problem. Somebody know mental problem of Noah? He was a drunkard, alcoholist. He drank so much that lie on the bed. It's naked. I tried time by time. It's in the Muslim tradition prohibited drinking of alcoholic beverages. In Christian not. Therefore, I have experience in drinking of wine. But for lying naked body is necessary very, very much alcohol beverages. Therefore, he was alcoholist. Take into consideration, he was the best man of his generation. Okay, but other side, we can describe this psychological problem, that post-traumatic syndrome, you know. If somebody would like to great trauma, it will destroy the mental stability very deep. For example, in the generation who experienced a war situation, it's quite a typical PTS, the original. Okay, Noah, basically Noah survived the story and his generation. The second one, a lot of story there are a punishment for the human awareness, but other one which important to mention, a story of Sodom and Gomorrah, which was the sin of these cities. I spoke about the homosexual practice. In the Bible, it's a little sin. But look at, for example, you know the city of Sparta. It's a military city. Everybody was a warrior. It's no identity problem. A Spartan warrior is the hardest one. Look at for socialization of Spartan warriors. It's a basic educational problem. It's possible socialize in the family or not. Two options. If we are looking at modern society, the son and the daughters living together, very, very long period. Even it's named Mama Hotel, probably on stuff. But other way, the people, the children, not able to socialize inside of the family because so softly save each challenges of outer world. Therefore, the Spartans are boys necessary walk into the chasm. I'm not sure, 7 or 8 years old. And on the adolescent period, he became a lover of older soldier. A lover. Later, on the simple introductory military campaign, they had sexual violence. Second step of sexual socialization. And the third one, married. And the fourth one, as older soldier. The younger one became the lover of them. So, in our Judeo-Christian heritage, little simple. Okay. Good. Summarize which is the Judeo-Christian heritage from the point of view of environmental thinking. This is the cursed world. We have to work, which is punishment. We are fellow worker of God. And environmental disaster is punishment of God for human awareness, some form of education. Okay, look at Greek heritage. If we are looking at the Greek heritage, Aristotle summarized the knowledges of Greek philosophical tradition. Aristotle and his fellow Theophrastus described the world as two units. First one, use a chart. Okay, here. Physis, nature. This is the universe. This is the universe. The universe founded according to eternal laws, and exist from the beginning of the time. Inside of the eternal universe, a small unit which made by human, this is the nomos, a culture, which changed very dynamic manner and made by humans. Very, very unstable, but very important to relation between the physics and the nomos, because finally nomos under direction of eternal laws. This is the first one. Some summarize Corpus Aristotelicum because it was a polymath, a real polymath. Each topic of knowledge is made and summarized Greek philosophical and scientific solution, physics, heavens, methodology, universe, animals, but everything summarized. But if we are approaching to the concept of Aristotle from other way, and a surface of interaction between physical environment and human society, describe the forms, according to forms of economic activities. Aristotle described the economic activities according to three categories: natural economic activity, half natural economic activity, and not natural economic activity. Natural peculiarity of economic activity depend on the source of benefit, because each of economic activity focuses to benefit, a surplus, somehow. A natural economic activity, and this is the last slide today, a natural economic activity is agriculture, because according to Aristotle's approach, source of benefit is sun and rain and natural fertility of soil. Therefore, came from nature. Look at the other corner, not natural activity. Not natural activity, for example, financial affairs. Why? Because generation of Aristotle thought about a zero-sum game. You know the theory of zero-sum game? Zero-sum game means that we can describe the theory of zero-sum game according to traditional society. It's a limited resources. For example, inside of the economic unit, there are three actors, A, B, and C. Three merchants. And A had 7 gold ducats. B had only 5 gold ducats. And C had 3 gold ducats. Whole of the sum inside of economy is 15 gold ducats. If somebody try to increase the capital, no other chance, because a closed situation, it's taking from others. If, for example, A would like to increase his capital to 10, necessary to taking from others. For example, from the B, 2, it's left 3, and left only 2. Therefore, a zero-sum game means that increase the growth of profit, it's possible, to the decrease on the other actor of economic game. Zero comes, therefore, it's not natural, because it's able to increase the profit, the benefit for the price of rivals. And a half natural economic activity, for example, mining, because for example, gold and silver and iron came from the nature, but became a product on the markets. And the price depends on the market situation. Okay, we close today, today's lecture, and I ask you patience for some minutes.